Alright, welcome back. Hope you're having a good day. I have decided to bring my Ficus philipensis in for some work today. It's been 4 months since I've done anything with it. I noticed a couple weeks ago that the growth spurt that it had before, all the leaves were hardened off and everything. And I just noticed the other day it had some new growth showing in some spots. Very little of it. You know, I mean, we're going into October, but actually even right here, and I saw in some of this little smaller growth, a little bit of evidence of thrip. You see the leaf all folded up, and it'll be brown ahead of time. If I was to open that up, I'd see some little tiny bugs in there. So this tree and a couple of other trees that I have that are related to a Benjamina, but they're the only ones that I treat for thrip. Usually, you know, if it's bad, I'll kind of either defoliate or take out all the evidence of it first. And since this was ready for a prune anyway, I'm kind of going to hedge prune, clean it up a little, try to define the pads a little bit better. May decide to reset some of the guy wires that I got. Most of these guy wires are actually where I did some wedge cut and just kind of bent it in. You can watch the old video if you wish. But I'm going to go ahead and do some pruning, and then I'll go ahead and treat it before I put it back outside again. There's another one. This one might be a little easier to kind of see how it gets folded up like that. And again, they always attack the new growth too. And so I kind of figure my thought process here is if I just clean it up now, take out a lot of that new growth, and then treat it, any of the new growth will wind up pulling that treatment up with it and everything. So, well, anyway, like this is the front. This would be the back. One of the things I'm considering doing is putting another wedge cut on this one and trying to bring it down a little bit more. It was 2 branches. I brought it down to 1, and of course that also is part of why I got that huge growth spurt out there, because I took the other big branch off. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get on in here and get started. First thing I noticed was it's got this little branch here coming right out of the trunk. Not too bad, wasn't in a horrible spot, but I'd have to wait. I'd have to wait forever for that to really get big enough to do much. This branch, I wouldn't mind keeping it. It's coming out right out of the crotch there of the arrow root, but again, it's kind of distracting. And this is supposed to be the front, so I don't want to cover up that trunk. I was keeping this because it's growing underneath where I had done a wedge cut on this branch. This branch was sticking straight up at one point, but I'm going to go ahead and take it out because there's a little bit of growth like right there, and that's not anything I'm going to keep, but I'm going to keep it just for now. Eventually that'll be gone, but that's coming like right above that wedge cut, and even right now I think I'm going to go ahead and bend that a lot further down. So I went ahead and took that out anyway. I don't know if you guys can see that little aerial root right there dropping down. It's pretty nice, pretty wild. Yeah, I doubt that makes it through the winter. I was actually just, one of my other videos, right now is when I see the most aerial growth, right at the end of our rainy season every year. This is starting up really high. It's kind of sticking straight out like that. We're now going into some dry and windy times. I seriously doubt if that lasts too much longer, but we'll see. Since this is all growth, that was kind of extra growth that this branch pushed because I cut off half of it. Most of this is actually going to come out, but I'm just kind of right now cutting the bulk of the outer edges of it off just so I can get in there and see a little bit better. And that's a lot of what I'll do at this point, is just kind of go around. Actually, I guess I'll do that all over first here. Just kind of cut everything down to size just a little bit, and then come back through and see what needs to be taken completely out. Other than those 2 leaves so far, I haven't seen too much other thrip evidence, so feeling a little bit better about that. I don't know how well you guys can see that one. I'd probably take that one completely out if it was at the front of the tree. But since it's back here, just took out, that was getting some crazy growth there. So that might be a spot where it kind of wants to get some strong growth, and that'll be an additional back branch since that's is in fact in the back. I'll leave it for now. Now, you know, this branch used to be right there. Let's see if you guys can see this a little bit better here. Sorry about that. This branch used to be like right there. And I was actually keeping this one because I was going to plan on pruning it off and kind of trying to use directional pruning. But I think now it's actually kind of the definition of where a branch should not be. I do like how low it's hanging and how it's giving the tree kind of a little bit of a lower banyan look, but it's just in a bad spot, and it's just doesn't go with the flow of the tree anymore. So I'm going to take that guy off. I'm not going to bother with that cutting there. I've tried so many cuttings on this tree, small ones, thicker ones. Actually, I was just at the nursery this past week. I saw some of these, they had some smaller philipensis. I probably should have picked up a couple because they are fun to work with. They develop quick. And now you can see where you might not be able to see actually, but there's the wedge cut there. And now when I am going to re-guy wire that today. When I go to do that, I can get that down a little bit further. Before I was kind of forcing that branch almost into the substrate, and I was kind of hoping that maybe it'd drop some rail roots from there, but alright, and I'll finish taking these guy wires off. So that's all. Alright, so what I did was kind of came through to every pad and cut pretty aggressively down towards the main branch. Cut around the edges just a little bit too. As much as I've argued with a couple people about this being some variety of Benjamin, it's got to be. And Benjamins, you're not ever supposed to defoliate completely, so I always try to kind of be a little more selective when I go in. I mean, like a microcarpa, you just kind of go in and take everything down. I try to be a little more selective with a tree like this. But now that I've done that, I'm going to kind of sit down and take a little bit of a closer look at trying to clean these pads up just a little bit and be able to see it more from an eye level here. This one, before I stop, I mean, I am going to clean out some of this stuff. It's actually, you guys might be able to see a little more of what I'm talking about once I do that. So it's got a really big offensive branch, kind of, I mean, I say offensive, just going straight up there. It's gonna kind of look, and I think I'm gonna have to lose it. I was gonna consider leaving it on there just for the health of the branch, whatever, but it seems to be pushing so much this way, very little out to here. And I'm also gonna try to wedge cut that guy down. It's in the, you know, halfway up the tree beyond this thick part of the trunk here, so it should recover. And let's see what we got here now. Alright, so I'm getting pretty close to what I'm going to do for the day. Almost the entire time I've had this tree, I mean, this started growing and I wanted it to grow to feed that aerial root. And I didn't want it to be an eye poker, so I've been trying to bend it over and down and over and down. And man, I keep wanting to take it out. But I'm going to simplify it there a little bit. And I'll wait till next time to make any drastic decisions on taking it out. But this one is still sticking way too far up there. This one, even though it keeps springing back up when I've been bending it, I am going to go ahead and put a guide wire on it just to kind of keep it in place a little bit better. And then this one, got a pretty good thick wire there. I'm going to get it back up there. But anyhow, I got that arrow root coming out here. I'm not super concerned about it, but it is coming out just below a scar right there from where there was a branch. This is where the branch was that I took off in the last video because there was one coming right out of there, right out of the crotch of the branch. But I think I'm going to use that old scar there to try to notch the, maybe I could cut that scar out and get a good bend in it there. And then I might go ahead, actually I'll go ahead and do that now and get that out of the way. And then I'll pull this down with this smaller guy wire. And then do that with the bigger one. Big negative space here I'd like to fill somehow or another, but that scar is right there. The branch that I took out on the other side is right there too. A little bit of a bulge. I have discovered that the wedge really doesn't have to be even all that much wider than the saw blade. But I would like to hit this one just in two different spots. Maybe get the bark to break just a little bit more. This is going to be a pretty good bend. And try to stay away from that arrow root, but I'm not going to worry too much if I hit it. So that's a pretty big wedge there. Need to separate it from that branch collar just a little bit. Either I need to make the wedge a little bit deeper. Or I'm going to need to break the cambrium just right there, and I might do that with a knife, or maybe just a swift little cut with the saw on top, just to break that tension. Yeah, there we go. Didn't quite fill the gap on the wedge as much as I'd like to on the back. Looks pretty good on the front actually. And now that I've done that, I did cut this one just a little bit before. And I think instead of cutting it again, I'll just go ahead, put the guy wire back on a little bit tighter than I had it before. And I think I'll take it just like that and put it back out in the Florida sun for the winter time and see what happens. I didn't remember to mention at the beginning of the video, but I should mention that October is a good pruning time for us in Florida. They're going through a big growth spurt. They can stay out in that sun for a long time. We really don't start getting lows in the 50s or anything for a long time, so it'll have plenty of chance to grow, and it's not like I did anything with the roots or anything, just pruned it.